Hi everyone. I will give you a presentation about presentation skills if you like. All right, let's get to it. So first, before you start making your presentation, there are two very important questions you need to think about. So what is your message and who are your audience? The whole presentation is you deliver a certain message to your certain audience. Then what is the message and who are your audience will determine what is the style of your presentation and how you can deliver those presentation. So for example, you may say, Dr. Ma, you use a lot of slides during your lectures, and why you still make this special presentation about the presentation? The answer is because during my lecture, I need to present you a lot of series, concept, content, those things. Those type of a presentation slides are not typically, we call it professional business presentation. Then what we are looking for, the professional business presentation, is what we are going to talk about in this presentation. And the slides I used in this presentation actually is a good example for a professional business presentation. So before you start your presentation, think about these two, your message and your audience. Then when you make your presentation slides, think about this. So first, keep it simple. Like I said, those slides I use for lecture, they are not good examples. I put too many words there. You want to put your professional business presentation simple. And here is a rule you can follow. I call it 6-6 rule. That means no more than 6 bullets per slide and no more than 6 words per bullet. If you can follow this 6-6 rule, then you can keep your slides professional and simple. So one common mistake is people usually put a lot of word on a single slide, a whole paragraph, hundreds of words there. If people do that, there are two things may happen. The first one is you probably want to read all those paragraphs to your audience. Okay? And remember, a professional business presentation, it is a conversation between you and your audience. Your audience don't want you read. They can read by themselves, right? Okay. And the second thing may happen is actually your audience may try to read all those paragraphs on the screen and forget about what you are talking about. So that is what we don't want to happen. Again, a professional business presentation is a conversation between you and your audience. The stuff you put on your screen, put on your slides, just a few key points help your audience follow your presentation. Okay, so 6-6 rule. And another thing is we don't want to see a lot of transactions, animations among your presentation. I know when you learn, especially the first time, for example, PowerPoint or Google Slides, you learn all those fancy skills. But we are looking for a professional business presentation. Forget about those fancy things. We want it simple and professional. Of course, unless you are in a special fancy industry like party planner or something. Second one, think about organize your slides. Sometimes your presentation may be long. I had a presentation like 45 minutes, even 1.5 hours. If you have a lot of slides, a long presentation, organize your presentation into different chapters will help you and your audience in the same pace, help them follow you. For example, we have talked about the marketing of my business. Next chapter, we will talk about the management structure of my business, like that. And the third one, remember, this is a professional business presentation. Make sure you check your spelling and grammar and double check that. Right, here are some tips to help you make a professional presentation. So first, think about how a visual theme. Okay? So for example, what I did here is I use the default pattern from the Microsoft PowerPoint. I just changed the colors to our university color, then put a logo here. Then I have my own UNC theme. Okay. And also think about use high quality graphics. We know a picture is more than 1,000 words, right? So put some pictures or visual aids to your slides can help you present your idea, help the conversation between you and your audience. But make sure you use high quality pictures. So, and another thing in business world, copyright is very important. You present your business in the business world, so make sure you have the copyright of the pictures you will use. A lot of a picture you download from the internet, you don't have the copyright. That means you cannot use that in a professional business presentation. And a rule of thumb is if you take that picture, then you have the copyright. Otherwise, you don't. But there are several websites, actually, they provide copyright-free pictures you can use. You can just simply Google copyright-free pictures. You can get some resources there. And for a lot of time, we probably need to explain the data to our audience. So instead of at least a bunch of numbers or put a table, you can use chart to help you explain your idea, your conclusion. So for example, you can use bar chart to compare the difference between two things. One is high, one is low, okay? Or you can use a pie chart to show the market share of your business, or you can use a line chart to show the trend. The second one is about using the colors. Okay. Again, we are looking for a professional business presentation. You don't want to use a lot of colors in your slides. I will say 4 colors is enough. Okay. You have one color for your title, one color for your main main text. You have another color for the highlight. You have another color for the comparison. Yeah, enough. And another thing about the color is for a certain color, human eyes are very sensitive to them. For example, red, yellow, green, orange. Try to avoid use a big chunk of those color on your slides. That will hurt your audience eyes. Okay. And the last one is about the fonts. Make sure you choose a font that is easy to read and friendly to your audience. For example, I use a default font from the Microsoft. You know, they spend a lot of money to develop this font. So this is very friendly to people's eyes. A good choice for your presentation too. But if I will present this to different audience, I may have different choices. For example, if I want to present to academia area, I will use the font of Times New Roman because that is the default font we submit our paper to a journal. That font will feel familiar for the people from academia. All right, next one is when you delivering the presentation to your audience, there are several tips to help you make your presentation professional. Okay. So first, actually, very simple. Smile. Yeah. You all have beautiful smile. Use it. It can show your confidence, right? It is your business. It is your idea. You know it much better than anyone else. Okay. So smile and show your confidence to your audience. That is very important. Believe me, it's very simple, but very powerful tool you can use during your presentation. And eye contact. Yeah. So make sure you keep eye contact with your audience, every one of them. And usually what I do is I will look at one person and stay there for a few seconds, then slowly transfer to another one and make sure I have eye contact with everybody in my audience. And also, you want inflection in your voice. If your voice is too flat, you will make your audience sleepy. You're a native speaker of English, you can do better than me in that way, right? Then body language. You know, if this is your first several presentation, you may feel nervous. And for some people, they always feel nervous when they speak to public. So if you're nervous, you may do some, interesting things. Okay. For example, I see people doing the presentation looking at the ceiling, or doing the presentation looking at the floor, or even try to move the chair in front of them while they doing the presentation. Yeah. So what I usually do is, usually the setting of your presentation, you will have a podium, a screen there, a computer there. Then you have a big screen behind you. Okay. So I will stand in front of that computer, speak for a few minutes, then slowly walk to that screen, standing in front of it, make sure I will not block that screen. Then speak for another a few minutes, then slowly walk back to the computer and talk for another a few minutes like that. Okay. And this is the next one actually is one hard to change. So a lot of people, when they speak, they say a lot of and a lot of people have this habit, start their sentence with That is not professional. So in order to change that, I have tips. There are a lot of other words you can use. This sounds much better than For example, okay, all right, well. See, you can use all those kind of words instead of And another thing is, it is totally okay. You have some pauses between your sentences, because your audience can use those time to absorb what you just said. It is totally okay to have some pauses. You don't have to fill those blanks with right? Okay, the last one. Usually during your presentation, there will be a Q&A session, right? People ask questions, people provide suggestions, they want to help. So answer those questions with a smile. And if you get some really good suggestions, take a note. So take a piece of paper, take a pencil, a pen with you when you do the presentation. Write down those value suggestions. You may nervous. You think you remember those, but eventually you may easily forget them. So take note. Believe me, you will thank me in the future about it. All right. So, English is not my first language, and I got my PhD in entrepreneurship in English, speak English and do a lot of presentation, even teach classes in English. So I have my secret. Right now, I will give you my secrets for free. Actually, it's very simple. Practice, practice, and practice. Okay. Why I say that 3 times in big, bold font is because, first, because they are important. Practice makes perfect. Yeah, that's very true for your presentation. And the reason I say that in 3 times is 3 actually is a magic number here. Okay. Believe me, when you practice your presentation for 3 times, you will see a huge improvement. And of course, if the presentation is very important, you probably want to practice more. For example, the most important presentation in my life is my doctoral dissertation defense presentation. Okay, that is like 1 hour long presentation, but I practice that more than 20 times. Sometimes I just go over all the slides during I'm taking a shower, Sometimes I suit it up and do a full formal presentation in front of my peers and get the feedback from them. Yeah, believe me, it's very true. Practice makes perfect. And right now, we have a lot of technology can help us. For example, you all have cell phone, right? You have camera there. Very simple. Use that camera, record you do that presentation. Believe me, when you go back, watch that recording, you will see a lot of things you can improve. You will see a lot of things you don't even realize you are doing that. So very simple to do. Just practice it. All right. So usually this is the end of the presentation. I have slides. It's thank you. Any questions? And I will suggest you list your name and contact information there. If you are doing a business presentation, your business information there. The reason is I don't have a common name, so it's not that easy to remember my name. So I put my name there will make that Q&A process easier for the audience who want to call my name and ask me question. And they also can record those contact information if they want to contact me in the future. All right? Okay, so now let me ask you this question. Do you think I miss anything in my presentation? No? Okay. So this is another thing I usually do for my presentation. I will have some backup slides behind that thank you slides. Okay. Because I have only limited time during my presentation, there are some information I may or may not need them. Okay. And there are maybe some information will help me answer the potential questions from my audience. Then I can put those information behind after that thank you slide. So if I need them, I can bring them up. If somebody asks those questions, I can bring them up to help me explain those information to them. Okay. For example, one important question I didn't mention in this presentation is the big picture of your presentation. Okay? Remember, we have two important questions at the beginning. What is your message? Who are your audience? But the big picture of this presentation is you want to deliver this specific message to the specific audience. You want to tell a good story, right? So how to tell a good story? This is the general theory. It's a traditional 3-act structure of a storytelling. If you take some English class or writing class, you may be familiar with this. 3-act setup, talking about who, where, when, okay? And what is the conflict? Then a resolution to wrap up the story. Okay, now we are doing this presentation in business world. This is the 3-act we want to see from your presentation. This is the 3 acts you can take to tell a good story. So, what is the issue? What is the problem? What kind of weak questions you want to solve? Okay. Then, what is your solution? What are the solutions we have right now on the market? Why they are not good enough? Why your solution will be better? Then the last one is what is the offer? Depend on your audience, you may offer the specific message to your customer. Say how good your solution will be, how you're gonna solve their problem. If your audience are the investors, you can show them what is the good future of your business, how much money you're gonna make in the future. Okay. If your audience is your potential potential employees, then you can show them the good future of the business, the promotion opportunity of the future. So 3-act to finish a good story. And after that great presentation, they live happily ever after. The end. Thank you. This is all for my presentation.